I only wanted Rudolph to have more than I did. You gotta understand, I was a nothing, a no dear. I was never gonna pull Santa's sleigh. I have a bad back. I'm not a strong flyer, and I smoke. I was an unemployed reindeer. In fact, I'd been fired from my last job. Once word gets around that you can't handle hard work, you're through. So when the vets came to me and told me my son was going to be born like he was, that Rudolph would probably never walk without crutches, that he would be horribly disfigured, a face no doe would ever love, and that he would have the mind of a child all his life. And when they told me that my mate and I shouldn't try to have another, because our children would all be like that, Corey was terribly upset. That was the end for me. That was the end of my life. You see, every parent has a dream for their child, dreams that won't ever happen. That their son will grow up to be the President of the United States, that their daughter will maybe grow up to be the president's wife. Crazy, outlandish dreams. Sometimes, when your life is where mine was, the only thing that makes you go on is that dream. And the hope that your kids will be better off than you are. That crazy parental optimism is what keeps you going through the bad times, when it's a struggle just to put feed on the table. Because you know that even if you never amount to anything, at least your offspring have a world of possibilities before them. It's worth living another day just to see what they do with it. But Rudolph didn't have any possibilities. From the moment of his birth, there was no open country stretched before him, alive with promise. Only closed doors. You gotta understand, our whole culture is based on natural athleticism. A deer who can't run or jump or pull a sleigh or just stand there and look sexy in leather and sleigh bells. Better off dead. If Rudolph were a domestic deer, they'd have shot him, put him out of his misery. The only future he ever had was as a burden to his parents, who were overburdened enough as it was. So when Santa gave Rudolph the chance to lead the team, you bet I jumped at it. You gotta understand what this is like. The British have the Queen. Americans have the Beatles. And Reindeer have the 8. I remember once, back before I joined the team, Victor was making an appearance at a benefit. I asked him for his autograph. And he misspelled my name, but that autograph, for years, it was my most prized possession. And then when he died, I sold it. And it was enough to pay for 2 months back rent. Whoever has that now has a hell of a collector's item. And not just to fly with the 8, but to lead the team. Something that only Dasher had ever done. Dasher, who's like a superhero to most of you. Dasher, who flew headfirst into the Empire State Building, fell out of his harness, plummeted 60 stories, and then jumped right back up and led the team on to the fastest Christmas run on record. Dasher and Rudolph. I'm not trying to make excuses. When Rudolph came to me and he started telling me that Santa was hanging around, walking him home from school, giving him presents, I knew what was going on. And when Rudolph stopped telling me about Santa, I just cried. I knew what had happened. I knew I could have prevented it. But you never really want to believe something like that will happen to your family. Until it does. I didn't let Rudolph go out anymore. We knew Santa waited outside the door, and he stayed home. And his mother and I prayed that it was over. But when Santa Claus came into my house, when the most powerful man in the world came into my home and asked for my son, what was I supposed to do? I did the one thing no one had ever done before. Well, many have done it since then, but most of them will brag about it for the rest of their lives. But for that day, no one, no deer, no elf, nobody had ever said no to Santa Claus. I said no to Santa Claus. He was shocked. My doe fainted. And then he offered me money, gifts, reindeer things. I said no. And he told me that there was an opening for me on the team. But my family would never want for food or shelter, clothing, that I, Donna, an unemployed herd deer from Fairbanks, would be one of the eight most important reindeer in the world, one of the Dashers, the Victors, the Comets. I said no. Then he told me he'd find a place for Rudolph on the team. That Rudolph wasn't gonna be anything. Could not even have aspired to be the miserable failure that his father was. That Rudolph would have been better off dead than born. Was going to do something most dear cannot even dream of. For the first time in his life, he would have prestige, power. Cruelly maimed as he was, he would never again want for love or affection. People will write songs about him being a red-nosed reindeer. Would be something to be proud of. Yes, I said. Yes. And I listened to his screams coming from the next room. And I listened to his tears for years to come. But he never again cried from hunger, from loneliness, from humiliation. Only from fear, pain, and eventually, after Santa lost interest in him, he didn't even cry from that. Those were good years. And everyone wants to know how Donna can work for Santa Claus. After what he's done to my family, and to so many others. Well, the others are on their own. But I have made him pay. I made him pay. I made him pay. Me, I made him pay. Rudolph, I make him pay. Every time someone else tells him no. And you gotta understand, I've paid too. I paid with my son and with my mate who left me with honor, with self-respect. And now when I thought it was all behind me, I'm paying with my son again. My son sits and stares. I don't know why. Sits and stares. Sings Christmas carols. Seen Christmas carols. Doesn't hear me when I talk. I don't know why. because he won't tell me what's wrong. I can't ask him. And I don't know why. I don't know why. They ask me why. I don't know why. I don't know why.